Hey everyone, welcome to week 3, where today we have a goal of converting between index form and surd form. And furthermore, we need to be able to evaluate fractional indices. Starting with a warm-up though, I've got technically 3 questions here for you to do as a warm-up and upload into OneNote so I can see how you're going. So we have 1 to write in sign notation, 2 simplifications of index laws here. So please take a moment, pause this and have a go. Today's title is fractional indices. So we actually wrote this index law down last week. All right, and I told you that was our new one. And I believe someone in our class put a nice little star next to that in their notes. All right, so it's that if we have a to the power of a rational index, okay, so rational, remember, is anything that can be expressed as a fraction. So sometimes we call this a fractional index, sometimes we call it a rational index. I will be calling it a fractional index. If we have a to the power of m on n, we can write that as a surd, where it's the nth root of a to the power of m. So essentially that n goes out here in the surd. So in other words, if we had 8 to the power of 1/2, that's the same as the second root of 8 to the power of 1. And we've been writing all of our second roots or square roots simply with a surd sign with no number there. So if you ever see a surd sign with no number, it always means the square root. What this means as well, if we have 2 to the power of 4 on 6, that means that we have the 6th root of 2 to the power of 4. Okay, and the great thing is we can actually work out what 2 to the power of 4 is. So 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8, times 2 is 16. So we could actually write that as the 6th root of 16. I've got a couple just written over here that might come up and they're a little bit tricky. I'm going to show you how to convert these surds back into a fractional index. Well, what this means is we have a little 2 there, remember? So in other words, that's 2x cubed all to the power of 1/2. Now if we bring that half down, now our index laws tell us that that half goes to the 2 and to the x cubed. In other words, we can write that as 2 to the half x to the 3 on 2. Now this one is a little bit trickier because we have a number under the surd with us. Then you might see something like this, 10 times root 10. Well, using this logic, we just keep the 10 out the front, this 10 here. It's not doing anything, it's got nothing to do with the surd. Multiplied by 10 to the power of 1/2, okay? Because this guy can just be written again as the second root of 10 to the power of 1, so we write that as 10 to the half. Now here's the fun part, because 10 and 10 to the half have the same base, we can actually add those indices together. So 1 plus 1/2 is actually 3 on 2. So that's employing our first index law there. So when we're actually using this index law to convert from fractional indices to surds, or back again, like over here, we need to make sure that we're still simplifying our answer as much as possible. Finally, you might see a fractional index which is actually negative. Now don't forget our negative index rule, that just means 1 on 64 to the power of a third. And now we can employ this rule. Okay, so in other words, that's equal to 1 over the third root of 64, okay, or the cubed root. Now let's get stuck into some other examples as well, because there's a lot of different ways that we can be asked to convert to surd form right as a fractional index. And then we're also going to talk about evaluation, and that means without a calculator. So let's have a look here. We've got 2 that I want us to convert to surd form. If you want to pause this and have a go at these guys now, please do. So here, that means it's going to be the 5th root of 3. okay? With this one here, remember the number on the bottom is the number that goes into the surd. That's the number root we're looking for. So that's going to be the cubed root of 5 squared. And because we can evaluate 5 squared, we're going to ask for the cubed root of 25. Okay, so that's actually the final answer, not this. Where possible, always simplify what is underneath the surd sign. And if we go back up to our theory here, you can see that I did that for 2 to the power of 4 as well. Now, have a go at this one. I'll write the answers up for all the try these at the end. 2, you might also be asked to write a surd as a fractional index. So let's get cracking on that. That's just going to be 15 to the power of 1/2, because remember that's 15 to the power of 1, and if we don't have anything written in that surd, it means it's the square root. This one though is a little bit more tricky. We just need to make sure we recognize that that 3 is actually got a multiply in it. It is independent of this entire surd. So we have 3x to the 7 on 4 is how we would write that as a fractional index. Finally, we may be asked to evaluate certain fractional indices, and I don't want you to grab your calculator and pop it in because you actually have the knowledge to evaluate this yourself. So if we put that in surd form, that's just the same as root 16, and we know the square root of 16, it's 4. Okay, so there you go, you've already evaluated it. With B though, it's a little bit more tricky. That means we're looking for the 4th root of 16. In other words, we're asking for something, let me use a different colour, something to the power of 4 equals 16. Now hopefully you know what that is, guys, if I think really hard about it, and we had it up here in the example before, okay? The answer is 2. That means that 2 to the power of 4 is 16. These ones are a bit trickier because you need to have had exposure to 2 to the power of 4, 5, 6, and so on. So if you don't know all your cubes yet, you should learn all of your cubes up to probably at least 10 cubed, okay? And with 2, with 2 and 3, you should know them up to at least the power of 5. At least 2 to the power of 5, sorry. 3 to the power of 4 is adequate. Now have a go at this one. So it's very similar to this one here, but I popped a negative there. So you're going to have to refer back to how we used this one. Okay. And I'm just going to pop up the answer for those try these now. I'll pop them up in a different color altogether for you. For that first one, hopefully you would have got the 3rd root of 121 there. Okay. For this one here, you should have got 11 to the 1/2, and here 7 to the 3/2. All right, and the final, try this, you should have got the answer as 1/2. So when you've had a go at those guys and you've written up your notes, head to exercise 3H. For questions 2 to 5, I just want you to do A, C, D, G of those. For questions 6 and 7, just do A, B. And question 8, have a go at these 4. And if you have any questions,